Think about the last few weeks. Have your sleep and wake times been shifting around? Some nights sleeping early, others staying up late with no consistent pattern? Do you feel alert and energized at unpredictable times of the day and exhausted at others without a clear reason? Do you find it difficult to maintain a regular daily routine, eating, sleeping, and waking at roughly the same time each day? If any of that sounds familiar, what I am about to share with you is important. Because research published in early 2026 found that older adults with weaker, more disrupted daily activity patterns were far more likely to develop dementia than those with stable, consistent rhythms. And the connection runs deeper than most people realize. Your body has an internal clock, and when that clock is disrupted, when your daily rhythms of sleep, light exposure, activity, and rest lose their regularity, the brain pays a price that accumulates quietly over years. Scientists are now describing a disrupted circadian rhythm not just as a symptom of cognitive decline, but as one of its earliest drivers. Something that happens before memory problems appear. Something that, if addressed, may genuinely slow the progression toward dementia. My name is Dr. Elena, and every week I bring you practical, science-based information on cognitive health and memory for people over 60. Subscribe if you haven't already, and let's talk about one of the least discussed but most important regulators of brain health that exists. Before explaining what happens when the body clock breaks down, let me explain what it is and why it matters so profoundly for cognitive health specifically. Every cell in the human body contains a biological clock, a molecular timing mechanism that runs on approximately a 24-hour cycle. These individual cellular clocks are coordinated by a master clock located in a tiny region of the brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which sits just above where the optic nerves cross. This master clock receives direct input from light detected by the eyes and uses that information to synchronize the body's internal timing with the external world. The circadian rhythm, the biological expression of this internal clock, governs an extraordinary range of physiological processes. It regulates when you feel sleepy and when you feel alert. It controls the timing of hormone release, including cortisol and melatonin. It coordinates when the brain enters the deep sleep phases during which it clears toxic proteins and consolidates memories. It regulates body temperature, immune function, metabolism, and the timing of cellular repair processes throughout the brain and body. When the circadian rhythm is strong and consistent, when sleep, waking, light exposure, meals, and activity happen at regular, predictable times each day, all of these processes run in proper coordination. The brain gets what it needs when it needs it. Memory consolidation happens on schedule. Toxic protein clearance happens on schedule. Hormonal regulation happens on schedule. When the circadian rhythm is disrupted, when daily timing becomes irregular and unpredictable, these processes fall out of synchronization, and the consequences for the brain are not minor. They are cumulative, progressive, and increasingly well documented. Let me explain specifically what happens to the brain when the body clock weakens, because the mechanisms are direct and the evidence is strong. The first consequence is disrupted sleep architecture. As we discussed in our sleep video, the brain depends on specific sleep phases, particularly slow-wave deep sleep and REM sleep, to perform its nightly maintenance. These phases do not occur randomly during sleep. They occur in a carefully timed sequence that is governed by the circadian rhythm. When the circadian rhythm is disrupted, this sequence is disturbed. The brain spends less time in the phases it needs most. The result is not just feeling tired, it is that the glymphatic system, which clears amyloid beta and other toxic proteins during deep sleep, operates less effectively. Night after night of disrupted sleep architecture means night after night of incomplete toxic protein clearance, and we know exactly where that leads over years. The second consequence is dysregulation of cortisol timing. In a healthy circadian rhythm, cortisol follows a precise daily arc, high in the morning to promote alertness and gradually declining through the day, reaching its lowest point at night to allow deep sleep. When the circadian rhythm is disrupted, this cortisol arc flattens or becomes erratic. Cortisol levels that are too high at night suppress the deep sleep phases and damage the hippocampus. Cortisol levels that are too low in the morning contribute to the brain fog and cognitive sluggishness that many older adults experience as a persistent feature of their days. This cortisol dysregulation, driven by circadian disruption, directly impairs memory consolidation and accelerates hippocampal atrophy over time. The third consequence is neuroinflammation. The brain's immune cells, called microglia, operate on a circadian schedule. They are most active in clearing cellular debris and managing inflammation at specific times of the 24-hour cycle. When the circadian rhythm is disrupted, microglial timing is disrupted too. The result is a shift toward chronic, low-grade neuroinflammation, the same inflammatory state we have discussed in multiple previous videos as a primary driver of amyloid accumulation and cognitive decline. The fourth consequence, and this is the one that the 2026 research highlighted most powerfully, is that circadian disruption appears to begin years before other signs of cognitive decline become detectable. This means it is not just a symptom of a brain that is already deteriorating. It is a contributor to deterioration that is happening before the person or their doctor notices anything wrong. In practical terms, this makes the circadian rhythm a uniquely valuable early warning system and a uniquely valuable intervention target. Now, what disrupts the circadian rhythm in people over 60? There are several factors that are particularly relevant for this age group. The first is reduced light sensitivity. As the eyes age, the lens yellows and the pupil becomes less responsive. Less light reaches the retinal cells that feed timing signals to the master clock. This means that even in people who spend time outdoors, the light signal reaching the brain is weaker than it was at 40. The master clock receives less input and its rhythms become less robust. The second is irregular sleep and wake times. Every deviation from a consistent sleep schedule, whether caused by insomnia, early waking, afternoon napping that shifts nighttime sleep, or simply variable bedtimes, sends conflicting signals to the master clock and weakens its ability to maintain strong, consistent rhythms. The third is reduced physical activity. Exercise is one of the most powerful entrainers of the circadian rhythm. Physical movement at consistent times each day sends strong timing signals to the master clock and helps anchor the body's internal cycle. As physical activity levels decline with age, this anchoring signal weakens. The fourth is irregular meal timing. Food intake is a powerful circadian signal, particularly for the peripheral clocks in the digestive organs. Eating at irregular times, large late evening meals, variable meal times, skipping breakfast, disrupts the synchronization between the master clock and the peripheral clocks throughout the body, including in the brain. The fifth is excessive artificial light at night. Light, particularly the blue wavelength light emitted by phone screens, tablets, and televisions, suppresses melatonin production and signals to the master clock that it is still daytime. Using screens in the hours before bed consistently disrupts the circadian onset of sleep and weakens the strength of the body's daily rhythms over time. Here is what you can do. 5 specific habits that strengthen the circadian rhythm and, through that mechanism, protect cognitive health. The first and most impactful is to anchor your wake time. Choose a consistent time to wake every single morning, including weekends and holidays, and maintain it regardless of how well you slept the night before. The morning wake time is the primary anchor of the entire circadian cycle. Everything downstream, the timing of alertness, hunger, afternoon energy dip, and nighttime sleepiness, follows from when you consistently wake. A fixed wake time is the single most powerful circadian intervention available without any cost or equipment. The second is to get bright light in your eyes within the first 30 minutes of waking. Step outside, even briefly. Sit near a bright window. On cloudy days or in winter months, a daylight therapy lamp, a bright light box designed to emit full spectrum light, can substitute effectively. This morning light exposure delivers a powerful synchronizing signal to the master clock that anchors the entire day's rhythms and promotes healthy melatonin timing in the evening. The third is to eat your meals at consistent times every day. The first meal of the day is particularly important. Eating breakfast at a regular time reinforces the morning synchronization of the circadian system. Avoid large meals in the 2 to 3 hours before bed, as late evening food intake sends a timing signal to the body that conflicts with the sleep preparation phase. The fourth is to move your body at the same time each day. A daily walk or any form of physical activity done consistently at the same time each morning or afternoon provides a powerful rhythmic signal to the circadian system. The timing is as important as the activity itself. Exercise at consistent times is significantly more beneficial for circadian health than the same amount of exercise done at variable times. The fifth is to dim artificial light aggressively in the 2 hours before bed. This means reducing overhead lighting, switching to warm-toned lamps, and minimizing screen use. If screens are used, night mode or blue light filtering glasses reduce, though do not eliminate, the circadian disrupting effect. The goal is to signal clearly to the master clock that evening has arrived and that melatonin production should begin. Let me bring it all together. The body's circadian rhythm is a master regulator of brain health, coordinating sleep architecture, cortisol timing, neuroinflammation management, and toxic protein clearance. When it weakens and becomes irregular, as commonly happens after 60 due to reduced light sensitivity, irregular schedules, reduced activity, and increased artificial light exposure, the brain's essential nightly maintenance processes fall out of synchronization. Research published in 2026 found that older adults with disrupted circadian rhythms were significantly more likely to develop dementia, and that this disruption appears to precede detectable cognitive decline, making it one of the earliest modifiable risk factors available. The 5 habits that strengthen the circadian rhythm: a fixed daily wake time without exceptions, bright light exposure within the first 30 minutes of waking, meals at consistent daily times with no large late evening eating, physical movement at the same time each day, and aggressive dimming of artificial light in the 2 hours before bed. Your body clock is not a minor detail of your daily routine. It is one of the most powerful regulators of whether your brain stays sharp for years to come. And the good news is that it responds measurably and relatively quickly to the right daily signals. If this video changed the way you think about your daily routine and its connection to your brain health, please share it. Subscribe to the channel for a new video every week on memory and cognitive health after 60. And leave me a comment. Do you have a consistent daily routine? Or is this something you have been meaning to work on? I read every single comment. See you in the next video.